Fire Maple sent us their best-selling kits, the Saturn Stove and the Feast 4 pot set. What I want to know is, how well do these work, who are they good for, and what we don't like about them. You have found Explorer Trek Adventure with Kelly and Gray. We cover everything camping from backpacking to adventure vans. If you're curious how we handle free products like this, go check out this link on our website. We are actually in eastern Idaho in their national forest, and we found this tiny little campground. It's super nice, has these actually cooktops. I think that's what they're for. That's what we're using for. A really nice camp pad for tents, picnic table. I mean, this campground is super nice and it's super small, only 8 sites. First, let's go over the Saturn Stove. It comes in this really nice durable case because it not only protects your stove, but also protects your car or wherever you're gonna be storing this. It comes with a dual preheat tube, which is good for when it's colder weather. You can flip your fuel upside down. You attach the fuel here, and here's where you adjust the flame. Look in the top, there's actually legs that pop out, and this would make it a bigger surface if you have a larger pot. And there's little grooves in here to give you a better grip on your pot. But these can also easily move, and these are pretty easy to open and close. And they say that in this closed position, it gives you a little bit more wind protection. Now to look at the bottom, there's also legs, so it's going to be standing up off of the ground. These come out a little bit harder, but it's still easy. And there's a built-in igniter, so it's going to be easy to ignite the flame. There's also grooves on here, so you're going to have a nice grip on the ground, whether it be the dirt or a picnic table. We're using a little bit bigger can. This stove does not take straight propane per instructions. So we're going to use this fuel. See how easy it is to get on. Okay, need to screw it on until it catches. Onto the pots. Everything comes in this mesh bag, and they stack within each outside of each other. Let's see here. Okay, so we have our big, gigantic pot, fry pan, and then inside of the pot, we have another pot. And inside that pot, we have another pot. A little baby spoon, 2 bowls, which are questionable, small size, a sponge to clean everything, and a teapot. So you actually get quite a lot of stuff. Now that we've seen everything that comes in this kit, let's look at these handles. It's covered in a hard plastic. It'll be interesting to see if they heat up or when we're cooking, or if that helps keep it so it's not too hot. Interesting thing is it's got this little button here, and then you can fold them into themselves. Now on for the lid. It's got a plastic little handle with a groove so you can slide it and hold it up so it's standing up straight. It'll be interesting to see if this stays hot when it's cooking or not, because all of our other pots we have metal ones and they are hot. There's also these little holes. In the past, used holes like this just to drain the water out. Also notice that little teapot also has holes in it as well, so I'm assuming it's for steam, because I can't imagine cooking noodles in this when you have these other pots, but maybe. Now for the frying pan. It does have grooves on it, and it's not the biggest I've seen, but if you're going to be frying up pancakes, that should be a little bit interesting to see how that works. One thing to note about this frying pan is the handle. When you push the button, it is reversed from the other pots, because this is the base where you set everything into. The Cookset is aluminum and does not have a non-stick coating on them.
I've noticed a few things. I don't like the feel of the plastic that they did on the handles of the various things and the little nubs that they got on here. It'd be nice if it was like a soft silicone or something like that. It should be fine. We'll have to actually see. There's another thing would be interesting if they could upgrade. This is obviously not a backpacking kit because it's, I think, 2.5 pounds. So when these are all nesting together inside each other, they're basically going to be grinding on each other. And yes, it is a smooth surface, and yes, there is no non-stick coating on there, but eventually they're going to grind down. I don't know. It'd be nice if there was like a non-stick little pad that would sit between each pot. One thing to note is we didn't have this screwed in all the way. We have to screw it in so basically this little rubber gasket presses up against the gas bottle. Makes a good connection. The real question, we'll see if this igniter actually ignites it for the first time. A lot of these times these little ignition systems will be just a little bit off and it'll be too far away to actually ignite. Well, let's see. This will be the very first tonight. Ooh, gas coming out. Ooh, perfect. Very first time it lit right up. So this is like super, super low, and I'm gonna turn it a quarter away. So you don't have to turn it very much to get a big flame, and we'll go full blast. Yeah, that puts out a lot of heat. I can feel it right here. Just make sure it lights twice in a row. Perfect. Yeah, igniter works good. So they're in the out position. This is the big pot. You can see when you stick them on there, they move a little bit. They work okay. Now let's see if the skillet fits on here when the thing's flipped out. I think on these smaller pans, you're gonna wanna have these flipped in. So we're just gonna leave these in for this cooking tonight. We're gonna cook some vegetables up here. We're gonna make some kind of pan-fried tofu goodness. We'll see how it turns out. Turn on. One thing I have noticed in the past is aluminum pots and pans heat up insanely fast. Super, super, super fast. You can already hear it sizzling the little bits of water it had in there. We're gonna dump a little bit of oil in there. I'm not sure what this was meant for. I'm not sure if this would be like, I guess you could use it like this to stir your stuff. And it is just long enough where I could do it without burning my hands. You can see the little tongs that fold out, those are glowing red. So in the event that you do want to flip those out later when you're cooking, you're gonna have to be careful you don't touch them. If you've never cooked on aluminum before, just start off with super low heat and kind of work your way up because it's really easy to burn stuff. Let's test these little handles. How are we doing? So there's steam coming out here. So far, there's no heat transferring there. So this, on the other hand, there's heat coming off of this stove. So it's kind of heating that up, but it's still, I can touch it. I don't think I would want to grab it. But that's partially because this stove is throwing a bunch of heat out onto the side of the pan. I think I have this a little too hot, so let's turn it down a little bit. It was dumping a bunch of heat up on the sides. And that is cooking actually really well in this little pot. This is not wanting to stay in its little nook. I have yet to see a pot that actually really wants to stay in there. Looking at the holes here, you can see the steam coming up. Very cool, but also be very careful because I was trying to grab this thing here and you can see that the steam's coming up and hitting my fingers. So just be a little, see, this is kind of what I mean by it flops over. And then now you're dealing with steam in a hot pot. Okay, I think these are about as good as we want them. Throw a little seasoning on there. Can I grab this handle to pick it up? Yes. Success. Now let's cook some tofu up in our little skillet. Size-wise, this is a very small skillet. So prepare whatever you're cooking. Make sure it's that portion size. I do think this skillet could be dual purpose. You kind of have this with the whole set, either your car camping or however you're doing. But if you wanted to do a little backpacking, you could take like just this skillet, and that'd be a really actually good option. You can see how fast that pan gets hot. It gets hot so fast. Yeah, so that this pot lid doesn't fit, so let's use this bigger lid. Although that actually goes kind of inside it. Maybe this one doesn't.
It doesn't have a lid.
Okay, but you can, in a pinch, you could use the bigger pot lid. Just know that it's gonna kind of inset inside. We'll put a little bit on the bottom, and then when we'll flip them, we'll stick a little more on top. It's a little windy out here right now, and you can see the flame's still holding real steady. When you're cooking in cold weather, this is where the inverting this bottle and this hose come into play. And if you listen, I'll invert it. You can see that it basically is using liquid gas, and then it comes and vaporizes through that tube. You get a lot more heat. It's supposed to be a lot more consistent temperatures as well. Now that I have the temperature down where it actually should be, because I was burning it way too hot earlier, this pan handle is totally cool enough where I can grab it no problem. Some of the other pans we've had that have no extra coating on them with like this plastic, you have to use a pot holder. Even though I don't like the texture, it actually is serving its function. Now let's throw these tofu pieces in with our veggies. We're going to take our noodles and pan fry those up. We'll put that in there, put the lid on. And we'll see if we can get some of this. We should do like just about a minute while these are frying up. Let me show you one more thing. It's kind of a hot mess over here, but we weren't quite sure what these are for. And we thought maybe they're for measuring liquids. So we brought a 1 cup out here. So that's 1 cup. That is almost 1 cup. That's Greg's 1 cup. We'll see. Well, so they're a little bit less than a cup. Is that useful? Probably not. I'm not really sure what these are for. They're kind of snack sized. They're not big enough for an entree, but at least you have them. All right, now that we have those fried up, let's dump our other stuff in here. This is where the downfall of having the smaller skillet is come into play. So you got to make sure you're dealing with the right amount of food. We always tend to overgo it, which we've proven it yet again. The last little bit of fry on there, get some of that seasoning going. Turn the temperature way down. This stove burns super hot, I've already said it, but just start way low, way low.
That looks good.
How do you think that looks? I think it actually looks really good. What are my first impressions of the pots themselves? If you can see that's actually very heavy, and this handle's totally holding it fine. I think they cook well. I think I would prefer to have a flat bottom skillet. I don't really like the ridges on there, but it totally works. You can see here, this is kind of what you deal with when you deal with aluminum. If you're cooking way too hot like I did earlier, still works great. Like I said earlier, be super careful if you're trying to grab this cooking something hot, because steam's going to be coming out of there. So be a little bit careful when you do that. Now, what do I think about this stove? From the limited use we've done it so far, I think it's actually a really nice stove. It burns really, really hot. So if you're looking for something that you have to sear your food, I think this is actually a good option. Being able to flip that canister over, I mean, you could actually hear it. It took off like a jet engine. I did really like that. This ignition switch, that worked great. These feet, I think makes the whole platform really stable. My only nitpick would be having these if you're trying to switch from in to out, like in the middle of cooking. Those are gonna be molten hot, so just be real careful with that. Other than that, I don't have any problems with the stove. Actually, I think it's actually a really great little stove. The size of this whole stove setup is actually really nice because it's super small and then be really easy to chuck in your camping gear. Yeah, you're only dealing with 1 burner. It'd be nice to have 2. It always is nice to have 2, but you don't have to deal with, a huge giant burner to like then figure out where is that gonna go. It's all just in this. Now, who is this pot set good for? I think this is a great set for a beginner camper. If you're looking to just buy one thing and have like all your bases covered, this would actually be a really good choice. Who is this not good for is, this is not a good backpacking set. But if you just grab one piece, so say you're grabbing just your skillet and throwing that in your backpack, that actually is a good option. Or I think this stove actually covers from beginner to expert. A beginner can just use it And if you're an expert, maybe going out in cold weather, you're gonna need to flip that over, and so you can maintain some actually good temperatures. That is actually really cool. We're gonna leave you here because we need to go eat this. You can find us at exploretrekadventure.com. Go watch this video next, and we'll see you next time.